Okay, so thank you guys for coming today. Most of you have your books yet?
Yes, sir.
Okay, good deal. It's a very good book. I'm going to teach straight from it. I'm going to talk from it. That's where most of your test material will come from. Be sure to get the book. You can get a used copy of this book, I'm sure, pretty cheap, I would think. It's a pretty old book, but shouldn't be too bad on you guys. And it really will be necessary for this course, especially with the uncertainty of what's going on, you know, with everything with the COVID situation. If we end up having to go online or something, then you'll definitely have to have the book. So go ahead and get that. Don't wait on doing that. So what I'm going to do now is share my screen with you guys, and we're going to go to, all right, talking about chapter 1. Everybody see that page?
Yes, sir.
All right, good deal. Thank you.
Also, good afternoon, Mr. Brasher.
Good afternoon. All right, you still seeing, now we're in a different mode, but I'm still sharing the screen. Is that correct?
Yes.
Big picture
Yes,
now?
sir.
Okay. So what we're going to talk about, like I said, I've done therapeutic recreation in the field for a long time. I really enjoyed what I did. So, you know, this, I hope, you know, my goal through this class, and I know that a lot of you have plans and ideas of where you want to go coming out of this, but I also want to open your eyes to this as a potential option, because at one point I didn't see it as such either. You know, I came through wanting to do physical therapy and athletic training, and ended up working with people with developmental disabilities, working with Special Olympics a good bit, which I really enjoy. And I wish that we were going to be able to do that this semester, because I think that's a really good experience for this class. It's a good way to get a few extra points, and you guys usually really enjoy it. The students do. So hopefully we'll have some opportunity, you know, some sort of Special Olympic activity that we can come to this semester. It won't be like a mandatory thing. I'll make it something where it'll be positive reinforcement for showing up. So we will see how that works out. As of right now, I really don't see them having anything, because a lot of the Special Olympic participants are kind of vulnerable to COVID. So they're, you know, that would be a good way to end up on the news and in the paper if you held an event and then had 20 Special Olympians end up with COVID from one day. So probably we'll be staying away from that for now. Full disclosure, I went home last night, and I think I told you guys I'm on the contact tracing team. I was working on that stuff until midnight-ish. I had all my school stuff with me in the bag. Long story short, I was tired this morning and I left it at home. So the things that I made a bunch of notes on about what we're going to talk about today, it is sitting in my house right now, but that's okay, because this is pretty basic, you know, laying the groundwork for what this course is about. So let's just get on into it. I'm not going to read through these learning outcomes, but I'll tell you just a little bit of an idea. There's some different definitions of therapeutic recreation. We'll tell you what makes recreation therapeutic, in contrast to just recreation. We will talk about how important leisure is, the different ways that therapeutic recreation can be used. We'll talk about some professional opportunities in therapeutic recreation, and I can tell you it's one of the fastest growing occupations out there right now. Therapeutic rec is becoming more and more more and more recognized as a true therapy by the fact that it's shown results for years now. It's being seen on the level with occupational therapy, physical therapy, athletic training, everything that has a factor of trying to get people back to optimum function. We just use different tools. We are a very integral and effective group as far as recreation therapists go. We'll talk about what kind of basic job skills and responsibilities you would see in therapeutic recreation. So right here, I will read you this one straight up. Therapeutic recreation is the purposeful utilization or enhancement of leisure as a way to maximize a person's overall health, well-being, or quality of life. So the word I want you to look at on this screen and take something from it is purposeful. It is recreation for a reason. That is the short version of what is therapeutic recreation. Recreation for a reason. It's not just recreation just for the sake of recreating. It is recreation that is purposeful. You're trying to enhance someone's overall health, well-being, or quality of life. That's important. That's test-worthy stuff right there. Recreation therapy is used interchangeably with therapeutic recreation. You'll hear me during this course, if y'all hear me say rec therapy, therapeutic rec, RT, TR, those are all things that may slip out of my mouth when I'm talking, and they're used a lot of times interchangeably. Recreation therapy is a specific form of therapeutic recreation used to improve functional abilities, and it uses leisure and enhances leisure. So what makes therapeutic recreation? That's what this slide is about. And I can tell you this slide is important as well. For a recreational activity to be used as a therapeutic recreation intervention, it has to be grounded in a leisure context, and it has to be purposeful. Those are two things that you need to remember from this slide. Grounded in leisure or recreation, and it must be purposeful. So recreation for a purpose is what we're looking for. Not, every time someone is working in recreation or doing activities, not every time that you're looking for an outcome, it may not necessarily be therapeutic recreation. It may not be a goal that has to do with enhancing their overall well-being, health, mental feelings, or anything like that. So not every outcome-driven intervention is therapeutic recreation, just like not all leisure activities are therapeutic recreation. Leisure activities are just leisure activities most of the time. When I think of leisure activities, I think of watching TV, maybe fishing, golf. Now, those can be used in a therapeutic purpose if they fit the bill for someone who needs help in specific areas that those leisure outlets can cover. So, but not all leisure activities are therapeutic recreation. Some are just strictly leisure activities. Remember again here, this is kind of back again over this. Therapeutic recreation needs to be purposely developed and delivered. So there you go, recreation with purpose again. Try to give your clients freedom and control. Now the key to that is if I just come in and I tell you guys, this is what you're going to do. You may do it because you may want a good grade or something like that. But in a recreation setting, if you come in, I just tell you, this is what we're doing, you're going to do it. Are people going to really enjoy that? No, not a lot. You want them there's an assessment process up front where you speak to your potential recreation therapy clients. You find out the sort of things that they enjoy doing with recreation and leisure. What do you like doing in your free time? Then you find out where their deficits or where their needs are, and you go from there to enable yourself to give them some feelings of freedom and control. If they, if you're able to ask them, give them some options. All right, would you rather do this or this or this today? And they tell you, they name one, then they're going to be far more enthusiastic. They're going to be far better about following through with that because you've given them some freedom and control. All of us like to have that feeling of choosing our own destiny to a degree. So once you do that assessment up front and you see what their needs are, you're going to be able to find out what your treatment goals need to be. What are we addressing? What are we trying to help them get better at or with? That's how you're going to choose your activities. Once you've talked to them, you found out what they like to do. Which one of those can you modify or use to help them improve where their needs are, and which that will be covered by your treatment goals. Pretty clear? Y'all good on that so far?
Yes, sir.
All right, thank you.
Yes.
It is a very diverse profession. There's a lot of different areas where you can work in recreation therapy. It's constantly changing, evolving. As far as, I remember back when the Wii came out. Man, that was the biggest thing ever for recreation therapy because you had a lot of people who were in, elderly people who were in assisted living facilities and such, and they weren't really able to go out bowling, let's say, but they could get on that Wii and bowl. That was the big thing, and that just kind of shows you how things are dynamic and how they change. And, that's still used in some cases now, but there's other systems and, all the way down to virtual reality type things that people are able to use at this point. There's different theories about recreation therapy. We're going to talk about these different theories as we go through. And there's a lot of different a lot of unique interventions and services that are offered, all the way from, just your everyday recreational activities to, for certain populations, adventure therapy, where it may be bungee jumping, could be used as a recreation therapy tool. So you really, really cover a lot of different bases. Therapeutic recreation, it's a strength-based approach to solving problems. And what I mean by that is when you are meeting your client, you're assessing your client up front, you want to look to find out not only what their weaknesses are, you want to find out where their strengths are. And you want to be able to incorporate their strengths into helping them get better. You want to set goals that are accessible and reachable for these people, because, a lot of people who are working, who are being helped by recreation therapy already don't have the highest self-esteem. Some of them are people with developmental disabilities. Some may be elderly. Some, different reasons that they may not have the highest self-esteem. So you want to be able to incorporate their strengths where they're able to reach the goals that you set for them. You want to challenge them, but you want them to be able to reach their goals and be a success story. Therefore, they're going to have improved morale. They're going to feel better about themselves, and they'll be far more inclined to want to keep participating with you and coming back for more. It will be something that they look forward to if they're able to set goals and reach those. Now, therapeutic recreation is kind of based on things that people have generally done previously during their non-work, non-obligated time. That's basically what recreation and leisure is. It's the things that you do when you are not obligated to anything else and you're not at work. You know, what do you enjoy doing to relax? Things like that. There's people that really give their therapeutic recreation treatment from a psychological viewpoint. Some are really big into arts, music, crafts, things like that. Some incorporate physical and occupational therapy sort of techniques into recreation. It depends on your background, where you've learned, what your interests are, and the things that you're more comfortable with as a practitioner, you are going to be better at using with your clientele. Now there is as it says here, there's a large potential for growth. It's already growing exponentially right now. It's one of the fastest growing professions out there right now. And part of the reason for that, I can tell you, is that baby boomers are still with us and kicking. So we have a large number of elderly recreation therapy users. There's not enough recreation therapists to serve all of them, actually. Now that is one of very, very many groups that you can work with in recreation therapy, because had I been in your seat right now and my teacher was telling me, yeah, you can work with old people, I wouldn't have been super pumped about that. I'm just going to be honest with you. Not really my area of people that I would want to work with on a daily basis. Just a personal preference thing. There's a lot, it says opportunities for flexible application. All that's saying is that we have a lot of different ways that you can use recreation therapy to help your clients. A lot of different settings. We'll talk about different places where you can work. Advanced degrees, there are places that have masters in therapeutic recreation. I have certification in therapeutic recreation, which would be at the same kind of level as that. There's community administrative positions and a lot of different occupations, or locations would probably be a better word to put there, since we're talking about recreation therapy, not other occupations. So if you, and this sounds like a commercial or something right here, it's kind of goofy, but it's just kind of something to think about. You might choose therapeutic recreation if you like to help others, if you're interested in physical or psychological processes, if you know someone who has a disability, if you're interested in a therapy-oriented path. Physical therapy and occupational therapy are not for everyone, and you can still help people with recreation therapy. If you're interested in social justice, aging, health and wellness, or you may just know someone else who studied or is studying therapeutic recreation. So just something to think about. There's a lot of opportunities, a lot of different ways that it can be brought to your clients. At the bottom of this, it just hit me straight as soon as I turned it on. Therapeutic recreation is a people profession. It's not one you need to be a good motivator. Well, let's go back up. It's a people profession, and we'll tell you why. In order to be successful in the field, you need to be committed, compassionate for sure, because you're going to have some people who have some sad backgrounds, perhaps sad stories in their life. You need to have forethought, planning ability. You need to be both understanding and assertive, able to multitask, able to and have a willingness to engage other people. You need to be flexible, because you never know what is going to happen on a given day. And I've seen that in the field. The best laid plans sometimes don't go the way that we plan them. So flexibility is a key with, I think, any place you end up. Something that's very important is you need to have the ability to motivate others. Now, everybody has a different style for that, and everyone that you work with is kind of motivated by different things for the most part. You know, some people, you know, when I was playing sports, I was not, you know, some people need that coach. It's like, you don't do that, you know, like in their face, they're yelling at them, they, you know, chest bumping and all that. That was not the coach that motivated me. I was more motivated by a coach that would call out people when you did a good job on something, not so much embarrass you in front of everybody else. I probably wouldn't have worked out in the Army for that same reason. You know, I picture the line where the sergeant's in their face yelling. It's not really my deal. My point there, some people would prefer that coach that's in their face yelling. That gets them revved up, that gets them going. Some people, well, that just shuts them down, you know. So you have to find out for individual clients what motivates them. You have to be a good communicator, the ability to carry out a process, because in the recreation therapy scheme, you make a plan, you implement it, and you need to carry it out through the end. You also need to be responsible in the fact that if you tell someone that you're going to do something, do it. And that goes not just for this class. I just believe that in general. And you need to be able to organize experiences. Now, obviously, from the things that we just said, we talked about commitment, compassion, engaging others, and motivating others. Obviously, therapeutic recreation is a people profession. It's not one that you can not interact with your clients, because that's not going to work. This is just some of the occupational settings where therapeutic recreation is seen. Now, there's a lot of different settings beyond and beside these, but you've got veterans administrations, you know, VAs wouldn't want to be working at the one here in Oxford right now. They're in the midst of a major COVID catastrophe, so wouldn't be the place to be the rec therapist right now. Schools, community recreation. I worked for the park commission here in town as a recreation therapist and worked with older adults during that time. That was another time of my life where I was able to clearly see that older adults were not where my main interests were as far as who I like to work with full time. Let's see. Residential camps, day camps, hospital and rehabilitation centers. You've got prisons and detention centers where there is recreation therapists there. Probably a surprise to some of you guys. Assisted living in nursing homes, that's very common, even in athletic training centers. And sometimes in hospitals, you'll see like a therapy suite, let's say, where they would have occupational therapy, physical therapy, and recreation therapy all housed in the same area. This is just some of the places where you can work. There is a large number of different places where you can find occupations. So I'm going to move on right on into chapter 7. Now, chapter 7, I never even realized this until just recently. I looked at this first screen of this, and the information that's in this chapter 7 comes from a guy that I actually know very well, Frederick Green. He is a instructor at Southern Miss. I think he may have actually retired by this point, but he taught therapeutic recreation at Southern Miss for a long time. Very, very good guy, and they had a really good program there. And I think that they are on the decline now that he is out of the field. But this chapter is all about how recreation therapists work with other professions to form a group to help clients get better, all, you know, as an interdisciplinary team. That's kind of the key to this deal here. So we're going to just talk quickly about other professions that we would work with and what working as a part of an interdisciplinary team kind of means. And simply that is, I'll give you an example. When I worked at the North Mississippi Regional Center here, we would have weekly team meetings, and there would be a recreation therapist there. There would be someone from nursing. There would be someone from the nutrition department. There would be a psychologist, physical therapy, the resident living staff. You get the point. People from all different areas and different expertise are sitting around the table talking about the clients and their needs and how we are addressing from each viewpoint their needs to help get them better. How can we work together as an interdisciplinary team to improve the lives of our clients? That's basically what that is about. So we'll jump right into some of the people that you could work with potentially in this interdisciplinary environment. You've got a child life specialist. They're trained to help children and their families understand and manage stressful healthcare experiences and challenging life events. Now, this is very similar in scope to me to social work, you know, but from the sound of this, you think about what social workers do, and a lot of this is similar here to this child life specialist. They're just more specialized in youth. They can serve in a lot of different settings. They need to be credentialed for the most part, and they're, as I said, they've got potential for collaborating with therapeutic recreation. And, you know, an example of how that could work is, you know, here we are as the recreation therapist. We've got some background on the child that we're going to be working with, but we don't know a ton about them, let's say. They're new, but they've sat down and had an interview with the child life specialist who told them that they had a near drowning experience at some point, you know, earlier in their life. That was something that scarred them. That would be a, quote, challenging life experience to me, according to this definition. Now, they tell us that as a recreation therapist, and what that does for me, you know, once they tell me they've had a near drowning experience, they are deathly afraid of water. You know, if I'm going to ride up and plan a trip to go to a water park, little Tommy probably doesn't want to go to that. So I may need to find something else as a fun activity that would not be involving water. And I may not have known that right off had I not collaborated with this child life specialist. Good example of how we can work together to get information. Art therapists. Now this is something, when I was a practitioner, I was not, I didn't do a lot of art therapy because I can't draw a circle or a square. I'm just saying, I am not an artist. So we didn't do a whole lot of artsy, craftsy things with me. Now, sometimes I would get some people that I worked with to come in and help me. Some of the artsy, craftsy people that were in my department, I'd get them to help me run some arts and crafts activities at times. Something that you see in art therapy, a lot of times you can, if you give them freedom of expression in what they're doing, it will show through art kind of what people's inner conflicts are. You'll see some of your clients are really good artists. It may show some of their personality traits. It may tell you some things about their interests, things like that. They're found in a lot of different services and settings as well. And, you know, art therapists could collaborate with recreation therapy. Also, a recreation therapist can can work doing art therapy, as well, to a degree. You've all heard of music therapy, I'm sure, and if you haven't heard of it, you know for a fact that music can change your mood, especially if you're me. Music has gotten me a speeding ticket before, for certain. It can affect how fast you're driving. It can affect your mood. Some people, when they're studying, they like to put on, I don't know, Beethoven, let's just say, some classical music, and just play it real low in the background. It's calming, it's not distracting. Everybody's got different things, but there's also times where a certain song will take you back to a place in your life. That's something that I've seen in person with elderly. The fact that, even when you're dealing with like dementia, they may not remember your name, but you can sometimes play a certain song and someone with dementia can sing every word of that song and tell you where they were the first time they heard it, because music has that ability to reach points within people. It's a good tool for stress management. Sometimes it can help with improving communication, because if someone is bottled up, let's just say not in a great mood, and you do an activity with music, it may get them out of their shell a little bit and help in that way. It can facilitate movement and exercise. You think about how you might have a situation where you have people playing different types of instruments together, all in a room, especially like with children is who I think of something like that. But you can get people moving. You can have social interactions, which a lot of times that's something that we are trying to promote. And again, it can be an expression of feelings, an opportunity for that. It's found in a lot of different services and settings. There are specific educational requirements and credentials a lot of times that are needed, and they also can collaborate with recreation therapists, although this is one thing that I also have done for activities, not being credentialed. I mean, I wasn't calling myself a music therapist. I was just using music as a form of therapy. There's a difference there. Dietitian, obviously, what they're going to do. They're looking at nutritional needs for the clients. They're going to plan and manage dietary intake. This is especially true in like inpatient facilities where the clients live there, such as an MRC here in town. You've got patients that come in and they're very overweight, and they are put, for their health's sake, on a diet plan by the dietitian. Now, that's another case where, as a recreation therapist, it comes in handy to have this collaboration and this interdisciplinary foundation where we find out from the dietitian that, Tommy got here. He is overweight. He's on a 1,200 calorie diet, and he's allergic to nuts. He has a nut allergy. So, obviously, if we go on a outing of some sort, say a baseball game, you probably, dietitian, you're going to be sabotaging them if you get them a large Coke and a chili dog and a pack of peanut M&Ms. Not only will you be sabotaging them, but you'll probably be having to take your client to the hospital because of the nut allergy. So that's the importance of talking to the different groups and finding out specifics that may apply to you. You don't want to sabotage what somebody else is trying to accomplish, just like you don't want them to sabotage your goals and objectives that you're working on with the clients. Kinesiotherapists, they apply therapeutic exercise to work on strength, endurance, and mobility of people who have physical injuries or limitations. That is the specific definition. When it comes down to test time, you need to be able to know and differentiate between say kinesiotherapist, by this definition, a kinesiotherapist, physical therapist, athletic trainer, they're all kind of similar, but I'll tell you this, the way I'm planning right now for this chapter, because again, I'm not one that believes in tons of surprises for you guys. I think we've got enough stuff going on in our lives right now. This chapter is probably going to be a big matching section on a test where you'll have to match definitions of each one to the title, or, maybe some other examples too, but you need to be able to pick these out and match them, what they do with who they are. Athletic trainers, they work with prevention, assessment, treatment, and rehabilitation of injuries related to participating in physical activities. So again, you see that it's similar basically, but they're working with people who received injuries basically from participation in physical activities. There's definite educational requirements and credentialing for this group as well. You'd have to be in a specific setting to have a whole lot of collaboration and work with athletic trainers. Kind of a whole different feel. This one would be probably one of the least likely on this list for you to work with on an average basis. Nurses, obviously, they're very important. They can give you a lot of information about health of the clients, things that you should or should not do with them. You can base that on, if they have extreme diabetes and they have blood sugar fluctuations that are huge, you may need to watch for that during any sort of physical activities that you're doing with your client. But nurses, they help families, individuals, and communities in attaining, retaining, and maintaining optimal health and functioning. As a group, all of us that we're talking about here in this chapter work together to do that, but that is their definition via answers.com. And you know that nurses work in tons of different facilities. Now, nurses will be one that you will collaborate in almost any recreation therapy setting with. Occupational therapists, they use purposeful activity and interventions to achieve functional outcomes. This is a situation where occupational therapists help people to get back to being able to do everyday activities. They're not necessarily trying to get someone, occupational therapists are the ones that I think of as trying to get you back to work after an injury or sickness or something like that. If someone had a stroke, an occupational therapist would probably have a person, if they were affected on their right side, let's say their right hand, they're having trouble using it, so they can't really work. They would have you work with clay to strengthen your hand. They would have you put pegs in a pegboard, something like that. Repetitive exercise, things like that. Now, as a recreation therapist, what I would do with someone who had a stroke and had weakness on their right side and we wanted to work on it, if they tell me that they like, let's just say they told me they like to play dominoes, I would say, well, let's play dominoes today, but I want you to use just your right hand when you're handling your dominoes, okay? So they're working on hand-eye coordination. They're having to squeeze the dominoes. I said, be sure not to drop it. So they're working after a stroke with hand-eye coordination, fine motor skills. They're getting socialization with their peers. They're also working on cognitive skills because they're keeping up with the game. Plus, they're having fun because it's something that they told you that they like to do. So you see why I like why I like recreation therapy, because it truly, my answer to people when they ask me recreation therapy, what is it? was I tricked people into getting better every day. You know, it was a true story. You find out what they like to do anyway, get them to do it in a specific way that's going to help them. So it was fun for me when I was in the field doing that. Psychiatrists, they're licensed physicians. That's something you need to know. A psychiatrist is a licensed physician. They can treat patients with mental disorders, and they can prescribe medications. That's something that sets them apart. People get psychiatrists and psychologists mixed up sometimes. There is a difference. Psychiatrist is an actual physician. They do prescribe medication, so you need to remember that. Obviously, they're going to be in a lot of different settings. With all of these basically have the same bottom three lines here. They have specific educational requirements and credentialing. I'm not going to ask you a lot of specifics on that part. Psychologist, the one that we get them confused with sometimes. This is just a social scientist who studies human mind, thought, and behavior. Now, where they come into play, when I was at the North Mississippi Regional Center, again, this is people with developmental disabilities, they would have what they called maladaptive behaviors or poor behaviors. And they were the ones who tried to implement some different programs, whether it was through taking something away or giving them good things when they were being good. You know, you can help people to get better through psychology by giving them rewards or taking things away, basically. If you're good for the week, you can go to the token store. Every day that you're good, you can earn 5 tokens, and then they actually had a store there, and they could choose what they wanted to buy with their tokens that they earned from being good during the week. So that would improve behavior. Now, if they have a specific behavior that the psychologist is addressing, they need to share that with the recreation therapist. So if the client is with us and they are exhibiting this behavior that they don't need to be doing, we need to know how they would like for us to deal with that. You know, or if they are exhibiting a behavior that they want them to show, how can we reinforce that will help them, not hinder what they're trying to do? So this chapter is all about how we can work together with the different groups. So from these last 2 slides, psychologist is just a social scientist, studies human behavior, and helps to adjust that behavior through different strategies. Psychiatrist is a doctor. They can write prescriptions. Remember those 2 things. Social workers, they help people function in the healthiest way possible in their environment. They deal a lot with relationships and personal and family problems. You think of like child protective services and things like that. That's one situation that social workers work in, far from their only type of job. At the North Mississippi Regional Center, the social workers there, they were the bridge of communication between like myself and our clients' parents or guardians. If I needed permission to do specific activities with their child, then I would go through the social worker to get in touch with them. That was kind of their main role there. So I worked with social workers a good bit during my time there. Speech language pathologist and audiologist, we all kind of know what this is about. This has to do with disorders with speech, language, cognitive communication, swallowing skills. That's what speech language pathologists deal with. I have a 2-year-old at home that is actually working with a speech language pathologist right now. So I'm getting to see this firsthand. He's getting a lot better. That's kind of fun to watch some of the things that they're doing work. So it's pretty cool. Audiologists they're all about seeing whether someone is hearing correctly whether or not they have hearing loss. Obviously, this is somebody else who you need to have communication with if they're at your facility. Now, it may not have to be verbal, but you need to be able to at least look at their notes and see that, you know, Jim Bob may not be ignoring you when you're asking him to participate in your activity. Jim Bob may not be hearing you, you know, so that's kind of the point of making sure that you know things like that, that you could find out from, or maybe somebody who isn't very talkative in your group sessions, maybe they can't hear, maybe they have a stutter, something like that. There may be a reason that you could find out from one of these other groups that we're talking about. How about that, guys? 5 till, you good with that? For next class, all I want you guys to do, and I'm gonna, is look over chapter 2. And we'll talk more in the next class about, I think I've told you already, but I'm gonna give you guys a chance to write down like which chapters are gonna be on the first test. We're not anywhere close yet. We've still got 3 or 4 chapters yet to go for sure. But anybody have any questions, comments, anything from today before I cut you guys loose?
Looking over the syllabus and the tasks and assignments we have to do, I noticed that when I clicked on the task of the leisure experience paper, the assignment says it's due on 9/11, but then explains after, how to write the goals and stuff. It says in red ink, submit to Blackboard by the end of the day on September 24th.
Yeah,
so that's
it's the 11th. I'll go in and change that because that was my mistake, and I thought I had fixed that, and I may have since you looked at it, but thank you for pointing that out. But yes, it's going to be due on the 11th for sure, and it should show up here shortly on the home page as an assignment, which will have all that information on it. And that one is very simple. That was the part that I asked you guys to, think about a new novel recreation therapy experience that you can start now that you're not already doing, that could improve your well-being moving forward. What's something you want to try this semester that you've not done before? That's all it is. Just follow what's on there as far as how to write it, and it will be that is due on the 11th, because we have kind of an abbreviated semester with cutting us short at the end. So I want to get that out of the way up front, and then toward the end of the semester, you'll tell me whether or not you stuck with it, how it went, what got in the way of it, what was a benefit of it, and things like that. So we can talk about that a little more in the next class. Next class, I intend on just going over chapter 2. I'm going to give you a little fair warning, guys. It is history of therapeutic recreation. Just come and wade through it with me, because it is pretty dry stuff, but it will be on the test. And it is the kind of thing where, here's the deal with history. It's not, some people love history, some people do not. But we can always learn from history. And this talks about how therapeutic recreation started, and things that have been done that worked, things that may not have worked so much, and that's something as a practitioner that you have to do, whether it's in recreation therapy or another field. So it's it's not my favorite chapter in the book. It's not about how we help people get better, but it is important information. So let's get through this next one. And sorry, somebody was locked out on me, and I didn't mean for there to still be a waiting room. Anyway, what I will do, in case somebody who was not here, I did not get, give me one more second, guys, for those of you here. Be prepared to tell me if you were here or not. Jared Hertel, Van Hertel. Say it out loud if you're here. We're almost done. Lanicia Floyd. Okay, I think we're good. So for next time, just excuse
Oh,
me?
I was gonna say I don't know if I heard you call my name out earlier.
I
might
didn't.
have missed
I
it.
didn't call everybody. We had
Oh, okay.
there was a waiting room, and as people were come back, there's a few people that had. I'm getting some emails that I'm seeing. Some people got out of here, out of the room, and it wouldn't let them back in. And I'll tell you why. And this is kind of a learning experience for me. I did not stop the waiting room at the start of the thing, which that's what helps me to see who's here, because I can let you in one at a time. Once I started talking, I honestly wasn't looking to let people back in. I didn't even see that people were waiting. So what I will do is
Gotcha.
I can send that to the ones who had an issue with it. This is going to be recorded. I'll send that to the ones who needed it. So just be ready for a kind of dry chapter in chapter 2, but that's what we're going to talk about next time. We'll talk a little bit more about we will talk about that first assignment where y'all can get that knocked out. I'll make sure that I open it up pretty soon too, if it's not already available to do. And that's it. So you guys have a good weekend. Yeah, just read chapter 2 on Tuesday. For Tuesday, it's not going to be a real fun read, but we're going to go over it and we're going to hit the important parts and the things that I'm going to test you guys on. So not, like I say, don't want to shock you. So somebody listens to Kevin Gates when they study. I can understand that. I'm not I don't listen. I'm not a classical music guy either, I can tell you.
What?
Anyway, hope you guys have a good weekend. I will see you back here on Tuesday, okay?
Have
Thank
a
you,
great
guys.
day.
Y'all have a good one.
Thank you. You too.